So I have a story time to share with y'all. A lot of times people edify or pedestalize having a two-parent household with both a mom and a dad in a home. But when both parents are not equally participating, or one is a drain that has to be cleaned up after, or doesn't fully do their part, then is it really as productive as people act? So I just want to share this story from this woman. She says, "Good morning. I hope this message finds you well and in good spirits and health. Now that I've caught up on rest from working 70 hours and my kid is away, I can type out my story uninterrupted. Basically, there aren't enough hours in a day for me to flesh out the kind of relationship I have with my father. So I'll just skip to the recent drama that has me in my feelings involving money. My father recently had the misfortune of being out of work all week this week. It's been stressing him out to the point where we had a conversation last week about it, and he dropped the bomb by telling me he expected me to now contribute $2,000 towards the mortgage for our house. The most money I've managed to see in my direct deposit from a pay cycle was close to $1,000. And that's because I got extra hours for work with my client at the time. As I've shared before, I work in the healthcare field for an agency. On average, I get around $500 every week. So he'd be basically asking me to hand over my pay every time I got paid, leaving me with nothing for myself or my son. What's even more mind blowing is that he mentioned my older sister would be starting college next month and would be enrolled for the next 2 years. So, for the next 2 years, he's expecting for me to somehow come up with the aforementioned sum of money until my sister gets her degree. He's known about her wanting to go to college since April, the same month I went back to work after being unemployed for 2 months. When I was laid off, I shared my interest in going back to school too for a certificate to become a sterile processing technician. They make sure the surgical equipment is clean enough for surgical use in hospitals. It'll take me roughly 16 to 18 weeks to get, and I was planning on using my entire tax refund to pay for it out of pocket so I wouldn't have to deal with the headache of FAFSA. I could work on the weekends to have some kind of income coming in to support my son. For my father to lay this on me last minute and expect me to be able to go along with it is simply not reasonable. My agency doesn't exactly crank out 8-hour shifts on average. I took another training class to deal with specific clients for more money, but it's honestly not more than the $500 I mentioned. My agency typically offers short shifts where the juice isn't worth the squeeze, unless it's an overnight or a standard specific case from an advanced class I took. I couldn't help but ask myself, why didn't anyone think to mention all this to me sooner, especially when I mentioned wanting to go back to school months ahead of this announcement? I knew why after dwelling on it for a short time. My parents don't listen to me. They usually don't because they think I don't make the best decisions despite claiming that they think I'm intelligent. Go figure. He also had the nerve to ask me why do I keep changing my career field? As if he can't see for himself, people nowadays are doing what they can in these troubling economic times to get by. I've changed my career path only once when I transitioned from CNA work to construction. I went back to healthcare because as a single mother, I couldn't be at a site before 7 a.m. and be able to drop my son off at kindergarten around the same time frame. That creates a conflict of interest. At least my hours are more flexible now, and I no longer have to deal with the pain of a long, expensive commute. My father made smart comments about how I used to give him some of my tax money. Now I don't give him anything. If you would like the story on how he tried to steal more than half of my tax refund from me, just let me know. What's confusing about that statement is he claimed in the past he wasn't expecting anything from me. Now that he's in some financial trouble, he has a nasty attitude and expects me to pull a miracle from a place where the sun doesn't particularly shine. It's very frustrating. Since my certification is a quicker process than my sister's degree, I should have been able to get mine first so that I would have been in a better position to handle whatever was necessary financially while she went for her degree. My mother has a friend who works in the field I'm pursuing. She could have been a great resource for advice or networking purposes. Nobody sees it that way, though. I'm the scapegoat, and my older sister is the golden child. If that helps anyone to better understand my family dynamic, Just so we're clear. I don't have a problem with contributing to the household. I've done so plenty of times unprompted. I just have an issue with having such a big financial responsibility dumped on me out of nowhere, as if I wasn't getting stressed out at work enough. At 65 years old, my father shouldn't even be so dependent on his adult children, his adult daughters, since he knows so much. He should have had investments piled up and worked for a company that could have given him pension or SSI and all the other benefits that come along with retirement. But he basically worked to pay bills. When we were having trouble with our landlord, he rushed to buy a house, all the while knowing my bad luck with finding employment. Despite my best efforts to look and network, my older sister had the most luck with employment, but wasn't making enough to cover the bills in a worst case scenario. I couldn't even get hired for an HVAC job I wanted because I didn't have the driving experience needed due to my father not wanting to let me get more practice in after I got my license. He'd tell other family members how I can't drive, but would leave out the part where he denied me chances to get practice whenever I asked him. I'm sharing my story with you so that the audience can learn that a man can still be in the home, married to his wife, and still be a financial liability. A father can be in the home and take his misplaced anger or frustration out on his family, which is why some of us single mothers left our sperm donors in the first place. And when she says sperm donors, she's talking about her baby dad. Parents can be some of the best teachers to their children, or they can be as equally detrimental. I'm truly thankful for all my father's done and continues to do, but he needs to regulate his big feelings better and he needs to be more realistic with certain things. So then I asked her, "What are you going to do about this?" Because obviously, $2,000 is a lot of money, especially if you're only making basically $2,000 a month. And she says there really isn't much I can do about it since I don't have enough money saved up to try my luck with an apartment. With my poor salary, it's hard to save money, period. My father just isn't the brightest bulb in the tanning bed, despite his old school Jamaican pride telling him otherwise. If I was rolling in money, I wouldn't let my hair get out of hand or walk around with my acrylic nails falling off one by one. I would have changed my entire wardrobe by now and have a car. But of course, men don't see it that way. I love him as much as I come close to hating him at times. When he passes away, I don't think it's going to hurt me like it would the rest of my siblings because he's the first man to put me through stuff and break my heart long before my first love ever could. Worst case scenario, I might have to look into shelters near me if the pressure gets to be too much. I don't think it will, but there's really no telling how a man is going to react when his pockets get pinched. It is really, really challenging out here for some people that are having to be caretakers. In this case, it doesn't sound like she has to be a caretaker due to his health, but a financial caretaker, and you're a parent. She says she has a small son, so and she still has to support herself. So imagine that. But your parents, I mean, I don't know what to say about this. We're all in a tight crunch, but having the not having any foresight to have any extra at 65 is going to be challenging, and it's going to be challenging for a lot of seniors going forward, especially with this gray tsunami that they're talking about and inflation and people being on fixed budgets and all of that. So I just wanted to share her story. Like she said, some parents, some dads can be in the household your whole life and still not really be that particularly helpful. And in her case, he's actually putting extra stress on her versus being the person that is alleviating some of the pressure. All right, join the conversation. What do you think about this story time? Don't forget to like, comment, and share.